Hey, what's up, comrades? It's time. It's time to start the Phoenix Saga. That's right, we have arrived. This starts with issue Classic X-Men number 13, which is Uncanny X-Men number 105. Yep. Go ahead and like, subscribe, share, comment, well, whatever. All right, so we start off with three, not one, not two, three prologues. The first prologue is the X-Men leaving Mur Island and talking about how they have to race back to save Professor X. The second prologue is Lilandria. We finally get her name in this issue, but not quite. She's escaping from someone she trained to be like a pilot in a spacecraft, and she's reaching out to Professor X, who is prologue 3, and he's talking about, oh, I got a headache, I'm feeling bad, I'm like sweating, I got sweaty bald head. And then Jean's there to help him, and she says, you don't need to come to lunch with us, it's okay. And he's like, no, I will come, I'm happy to spend time with your family and your best friend Misty Knight. Oh wait, no, there's a fourth prologue, I forgot. And the fourth prologue is Eric the Red watching, being like, oh, I will kill you soon, don't you fret. So the X-Men land at the Blackbird jet, which is a SR-71 stealth bomber. Stealth bomber? I don't know if it's a bomber, it's a stealth jet. At Westchester, where Eric the Red is standing there, and they immediately attack him, and everything looks like they got him real good, but then, all of a sudden, right before they're about to kill him, Firelord comes in, and you may say, who is Firelord? Well, Firelord is one of Galactus's heralds, and Galactus's heralds are super powerful spacefaring creatures like the Silver Surfer, who go around and warn everybody that Galactus is coming to eat the planet, and yeah, they're kind of assholes. So, Firelord takes care of the X-Men pretty quick. Storm gives him a little bit of a fight, but he's able to knock them all out. But he doesn't kill him. Why? I don't know. He just didn't feel like it, I guess. So Eric the Red's like, good. And then he recalls how he met Firelord, and it just so happened that Firelord was passing by the Earth when Eric the Red was trying to figure out what to do with the X-Men. So he came up with a plan where he got Havoc, and he pretended to be beaten up right where Firelord was going to be like hanging out for some reason. And he got Lorna Dane and Alex Summers, Havoc, and Polaris to attack him, to pretend like they were killing him, and they wanted to take over the planet. And he told Firelord, I'm just, spacefaring, wandering around the universe, and I came here, and the X-Men are trying to destroy the world and take it over. You should help me. And he's like, I will kill all the X-Men and Professor X. Dun, dun, dun. We then skip back to Lilandra, who's flying in space, and we get like a very like Captain Kirk style, like Shi'ar captain, who's talking with this hot white-haired, blue-skinned babe in their ship, and this part's actually pretty good. They're like, oh, we'll chase her down, and someone's like, what about protocol, whatever, and that's one where you don't let, people know that you're around because they're not spacefaring civilizations, whatever. And he's like, we are beyond that point. We will destroy her no matter what. Give me some more information about this planet. And then the woman's like, oh, shit. Galactus has been here 4 times, and they've beaten him back every single time. And the captain's like, they beat back Galactus 4 times? Let's get the fuck out of here. And so they do. They just peace out. They fire one more volley at Lilandra's ship right before she teleports out of there and it blows up the ship. So meanwhile, Jean and Misty and Jean's parents and Charles are all having a nice lunch at their like super fucking fancy apartment in like New York City when Lilandra just teleports in and speaks like a crazy language that no one understands except Professor X, and that's when we finally get her name, Lilandra. She passes out a little bit. They put her on the couch, and she's remarked as being beautiful, which she is. And then Firelord busts through the door, and he's like, I am here to kill Professor X and take Lilandra. And then Jean is like, fuck you. And she turns into Phoenix and beats the shit out of him. Like, really beats the shit out of him. Meanwhile, Eric the Red's like, oh, good. So they're distracted. So he wanders up and he uses like his stun powers to like knock everybody out in the room, which is like Charles and Jean and, oh no, not Jean, and Lilandra and Misty and Jean's parents. And then he drags Lilandra and Professor X up to the roof of the building where he's building like a Stargate. And that's when he sees the X-Men. So he fires at the X-Men fire back. And they're about to get to stop Eric the Red right when he turns the portal on, picks up Lilandra and it says, farewell, bitches, and hops through. Nightcrawler almost is able to grab him, but he's like a second too late. And then Professor X, who's like mind-linked with Lilandra and found out about her brother trying to destroy the whole universe, is like, no, it's too late. There's nothing that can be done. And then Jean flies in after she beat the shit out of Firelord. And her parents are like, holy shit, Jean, what happened to you? And she's like, don't worry about it. I'm just super strong now. And everyone's like, what are we going to do? It's into the world. And Professor X is like losing his mind. And then Jean's like, nah, like, it's fine. And so she turns the fucking star portal back on. And everyone's like, oh, cool, let's go. And so they do. And right when they all leave, Firelord shows back up, and he's like, "Where's Phoenix? I'm not done fighting her." And it's just Professor X, Jean's parents, and Misty. And they're like, "Too late, bro. She left, and she's gone. And the whole universe might be destroyed tomorrow. Who knows?" So the B story is Jean wearing a cute little swimsuit, and Misty Knight wearing a sexy swimsuit. I mean, they're both wearing bikinis, but Misty Knight's pretty sexy. And Misty's thinking about Danny, Iron Fist, and Colleen Wing, and then Colleen and Misty are the daughters of the dragon or whatever back in the 70s. This is in the 70s more anyway. Anyway, they're street level criminal fighters guys. I can't remember if Misty. I don't think Misty has her bionic arm yet. She gets that later maybe. Anyway, she's a crush on Danny, but then she's best friends with Colleen, and Colleen's dating Danny. Rand, that's his last name, and it's oh, sad, sad, sad. And then Jean shows her Phoenix stuff to Colleen, or not to Colleen, to Misty, and they have a conversation about her powers and how she's changed, and she's I know I've changed, and then she's I gotta go, I gotta save a family that's out in the water. And then Misty's you can't go alone even with all your powers, and so she grabs her with water telekinesis and brings her on the boat. And she goes, and then she dives in the water. And in the water, Misty's oh shit, what's going on here? And then she sees a shark, and she's I gotta go save Jean. And she flies down, and she punches the shark real fucking hard. And the shark hits her back, and then the dolphins come, and they beat him up. And then Misty climbs out, and she's holy cow, what happened to this family? And then Jean's oh, it's the dolphins. The dolphin family was in trouble. I just had to tell them to man up and fight the fucking sharks. And so they did. And then Misty's oh, well, that was cool. And then Jean lets Misty experience what it's like to be a dolphin for a little bit with her superpowers. And then Misty's very concerned for Jean's sanity, and Jean's yes, this is why I need my friends. And then they hug it out. So we pick up in issue 106, and this issue was not translated to Classic because it pretty much just does a recall of past events. So where Firelord is yelling at Professor X and everyone's already left in the Stargate, we pick up right there. Misty Knight is back off, motherfucker, and she has her gun it's going to do anything. And Professor X is still having issues, and Firelord points out the obvious. The human cried out, "Is he in pain?" And Misty's bro, shut the fuck up. And then Charles is having hallucinations he's back in X-Men 96. It literally says that. Where Moira's trying to talk to him about what's going on and that he can be okay. Meanwhile, the new X-Men, Colossus, Wolverine, and the folks, they're messing around in the danger room, and they get into a little spat, and Banshee's being sass mouth when all of a sudden Angel shows up in his original X-Men uniform, and they're what the fuck are you doing here? And then he attacks, and then the rest of the X-Men, Beast, the original Iceman, original Jean Grey, they show up too, and they're all fighting. And so people fight, and they're talking, and Wolverine starts to realize that hey, these guys are an illusion, or there's something weird about what's going on here. But we get a lot of cool fight scenes. That's the majority of this issue, to be completely honest. Just fighting, people talking about fighting, people fighting some more. They blast Cyclops eventually blasts the Angel thing with all he's got, and he doesn't kill him because it's actually an illusion perpetuated or created by Professor X because he's losing his mind. So he's creating these evil X-Men, and he's you must all stop. And then he concentrates real hard, and the old bad fake X-Men disappear. But then who shows up? Oh no, it's the evil Professor X, the one that would happen if he decided he was going to take over the world and be evil. And so they try to fight him, but they obviously can't because he's again a mental illusion of sorts. And Wolverine makes a comment about how he feels like he's burning up and falling down a pit and all these things at the same time, but he knows it's an illusion. But Professor X warns him that if you don't think it's an illusion for a minute, you're going to be destroyed. And then he finally is able to get rid of the evil Professor X by bringing back the original X-Men illusion, and they beat the shit out of him. And then he kind of wakes up back at the Stargate, and it looks like he's by himself for some reason, and he's oh, I have to be strong. This forced rapport with this alien woman has done a number to me, but I will be strong. And there's no second story because there's no classic version of this. But yeah, it was an alright. It's an alright issue. Uncanny X-Men 107/Classic 14. The X-Men pop out right by the M-Con crystal, being led there by Phoenix, who's using all her power to move them through the stars into this area. And as soon as they land, they see the Imperial Guardians, who are led by Gladiator. And these are the Shi'ar Empire's premier elite fighting force. And they also see Lilandra being held by Eric the Red, and her brother, the Emperor, shouting. And so battle commences. And so we get like a lot of fun little back and forth, and the X-Men are doing pretty fucking good, holding their own against this like overwhelming like alien force. And when I say overwhelming, they mention a couple times how there's like the numerical value is definitely not in the X-Men's favor, especially with Jean Grey being kind of like indisposed with weakness. But the X-Men are able to utilize like their skills. Nightcrawler uses his image inducer to summon like a monster to go against like the other guy's monster, which is pretty adorable. And they're doing a pretty good job, just kind of forcing their will on everybody. But Banshee and Cyclops both mentioned that they're starting to like wear themselves out. At this point, they're about to give Lilandra over to the Soul Drinker, which drinks souls, I guess. Nightcrawler goes and rescues her and brings her back, and then Lilandra, in the midst of battle, recalls to Cyclops that her brother, the Emperor, was going to use the Mcon crystal, that like every billion years or whatever, the Death Stars like align, and they will create a powerful force in the Mcon crystal, which will give people like unlimited power, but that she knows it's actually a power that's going to destroy the whole universe. And that there was a civil war between her and her brother. She lost. She was about to be executed, but she escaped. And then as she was escaping, all the way back, when the X-Men cast the like Xynox out or whatever, that like alien race, they use the power of like love to banish them or destroy them. That when that happened, she felt his presence, and that's when her and Professor X connected the first time, and she knew she had to come get them to help. But that the telepaths working for her brother also sensed it, so he contacted Eric the Red, which is a Shi'ar plant on the planet Earth, and then he did all the bad shit that he did. And so Cyclops is all caught up now. Then at this point, while the X-Men are fighting and starting to actually lose because they're just having a hard time keeping up, we go to the Starjammers. Now, the Starjammers are fucking awesome. They're led by Corsair, who we find out later is Scott Summers' father, who he thought died in like a plane crash, but was really taken in as a slave in an alien empire, the Shi'ar Empire, and then he escaped. I think it was the Shi'ar. It might have been one of the other alien races, but he was able to escape, and now he has like this pirate crew. But they've teamed up with Lilandra. But there's like Big Dude Chode, there's his girlfriend, the cat lady, and then there's like One-Eyed Raza. Anyway, so they come blasting down, and they even the odds and help the X-Men like fend off the Imperial Guard and defeat them. And then they're like, yeah, we did it. And it's like, oh, we can't rest yet. And then Takan's like, it doesn't matter, the stars are aligned. And then this light from the stars shoots down to the Mcron crystal, and it like explodes in this brilliant like ruby light, and then all of existence like blinks out and then blinks back in. And then we go to Corbeau, who's in a space station, and he's talking to Reed Richards, and they're both like, holy shit, did you feel that? And then Reed Richards is like, yeah, we all cease to exist for a second. And Corbeau's like, if that keeps happening, all of reality is going to dissipate. But he's all sweaty and stuff. So then the B story is focusing on Lilandra when she was about to be executed. So she's about to be executed for her treason when I think they call them the Pathfinders, show up. Her like special forces come to like rescue her, and then she's running away and she's about to escape when she's like, oh, and it's like when Professor X and the power of love and friendship cast out the Nox from Earth, and she makes a connection with him, and then she's like merging with him. So she's having the same issue that he was having, where he's having a hard time differentiating between herself and him. And she's like, oh, my sister, wait, I don't have a sister, wait, my legs, how are my legs working, right? So their consciousnesses are somewhat merging, and she mentions he must be her life mate, which is something Shi'ar people believe, I guess, and that she needs to like get some help. But then she realizes all the Pathfinders are dead, right? So she's like, who am I going to get help from? There's no one left. And she's like, oh, Charles, I can go to him. And so she puts on like her crazy alien looking, like her bug alien looking spacesuit, and is like, I will go find Professor X. And then she takes off. And that brings us to where we're at now. Issue 115, or Classic 15. It's funny how it syncs up like that now. We start immediately with the Mcron crystal. Everyone's freaking out about everything going in and out of existence. We get like a little background on like what happened in the last issue. And then we get the Avengers with the Fantastic Four and the President and Dr. Corbeau, and everyone's like, oh no, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And this is the first time I remember seeing Beast use his line, Stars and Garters, which is great. That came up a lot in the cartoon. Back with the X-Men, by the Mcon crystal, Guardian comes out, jamf, and Wolverine's like, look at this little motherfucker. He's like a tiny little gray-skinned, like white-haired dude, and he knocks Wolverine into orbit, and then he starts beating the shit out of everybody. Phoenix tries to summon a meteorite to crash into him, and that doesn't work. But then Banshee thinks about something he said. He mentioned something about being a program or being like a bot or something. So he goes right into him, Jamp grabs him, and then Banshee screams with all his energy right in the guy's face and kills him. Because it was like a machine being short-circuited. And then they're like, holy cow, Banshee, okay? And he's like, I don't know if I can ever scream again, but yeah, I'm doing all right. And then this giant robot thing comes out and is like, I am the second guardian. I am 1,000 times greater than him. And if you defeat me, the next one will be 1,000 times greater than them. And it's like, oh shit, bro. So Raza, one of the Starjammers, and Colossus are jumping around, and Raza's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to toss this motherfucker into the crystal. So he picks up the Emperor and tosses him in, and then everyone zooms out and then zooms into the crystal. And then we get a lot of stuff. Everyone's having like nightmares and freaking out, and Jean Grey's starting to be like ethereal, or ethereal, not have like a physical presence anymore. And she's trying to figure out what's going on. And she's like, oh, there's like a neutron galaxy in here, and it's going to explode and destroy our galaxy to create a new galaxy, but I can use the power of the Phoenix to stop it. And so she tries to like repair the Matrix, but because she's not ethereal enough, she doesn't have enough like physicality in this universe, it's not working. And then Storm reaches out and it's like, take some of my life energy. And Jean's like, I can't do that. And Storm's like, it's mine to give. And then she's like, I don't want to take all yours because it'll kill you. I need someone else's help. And standing right there is Corsair, who we find out right now is Major Summers, Scott's dad. And so she's like, give me your hand. He's like, oh, why would I? And he's like, Major Summers, please, for your sons. And so he does. And she tells him that Scott's his son. And he's like, oh my gosh, because he thought Scott died, right? We learn more about that later. But then she has enough energy to go in there, repair the galaxy, and like there's like all this fun stuff. And then, oh no, she doesn't have enough power quite yet. It's so close but so far away. And then of course what saves the day, dun 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 dun, the power of friendship. Because friendship is fucking magic. So we get a panel with all the X-Men smiling, and she's like, they're giving their like life energy or their mental energy to her so that she's able to repair it, and it creates like this force. And it's at this point that we first see the Dark Phoenix. And so, it talks about how the Phoenix is a creature of passion, and that, she came to join with Jean because of the love she had for her friends, but there's also like a destructive side. And so Jean, the good Phoenix, blasts the Dark Phoenix and then pops out of the crystal, and she's like, I don't know what happened. And they're like, we saved the day, it's all good. And then they're like, all right, let's go home. So they all teleport back to New York, and Firelord's there. So Cyclops like, fuck, let's get him. And Firelord's like, stop. Professor X explained everything to me in that issue that was not part of the classic series. So we're all good now. And they're like, oh, thank goodness. And then Lilandra pops through the star portal as well. And they're like, Lilandra, what are you doing? And the portal disappears, and she's like, well, I'm next in line to rule the Empire, but like I'm also a traitor, so they're banishing me till like the council can figure out what to do. But I think what they're going to do is make me Empress, because everyone realizes that guy was a crazy motherfucker. And then so I'm going to be with you for now, my love, to Charles Xavier. And then everyone's like, having a good time, being happy. The side story here is great because it's the Starjammers, and the Starjammers are fucking awesome. So we get Corsair. He's in a mine, and he's struggling, and this beautiful cat wolf girl runs by, and they like knock him out, and he tries to rescue her, but they beat the shit out of him, and he goes back to groveling, and she gets taken away. And then he remembers, like, he was a pilot, and he's flying with his family when a spaceship, like, crashed into him. And he sent his sons out in a parachute, and it looked like the parachute burned up in the atmosphere, and that Scott and Alex died. But we know they didn't. Anyway, so the Shi'ar commander of this ship wants to bang Kate, his wife. I think it's Kate. And so Corsair goes to fight him, and then after he gets beaten, he kills Kate as revenge and puts him in the mines. And he's like, oh, I'm so sad. And this is where we meet Chode and Raza, who are looking for their friend, the Mephaphazas? I can't, it's some crazy name for the cat lady. And we realize that he's on drugs, and he's like having a hard time, and they call him a grub, and that's like too far. And he's like, I will not be a grub, I fucking refuse. And so he sneaks to where they're holding the cat lady prisoner, and then Raza and Chode, who had spoken about killing him, so they didn't report them to the guards, are like, oh shit, we should have killed him. But then he backstabs one of these guys and starts whipping him, and then another guy comes and he starts whipping him, but then Chode comes and saves his life, and then Raza kills everybody. So when he rescues the wolf girl, or cat girl, or whatever she's supposed to be, she licks him, and she's like, we are bloodbound now forever, which is something I mentioned before, like this is his new wife. Which, like, not too bad. You could capture, go to space, you gotta spend some time in a mine, and you get like a super hot babe, badass cat wife. Fantastic. And then we get like a nice little, they're like, okay, cool, I guess we're all going to be teams and buddies now. And, you're a pilot, you can fly with us, that's excellent. What's your name? And he's like, call me Corsair. And they're like, now a legend is born. So it's pretty freaking good.